Left of the box. As many of you know, Justin Trudeau finally did it. He did this speech. He's like, yeah, I finally polling and all that sort of stuff. I'm stepping down as prime minister of the country. Well, he will once there's a robust leadership race. And then once a new leader is elected, then they have to go through the process of getting the governor general to sign off on it and stuff like that. And then he will no longer be prime minister. So as of this moment, he is prime minister. As of this moment, we still have a government, though it's prorogued. I think that's the word, prorogued, which just means all the bills that were in the works are just, they're done. No more going to question period or anything of that sort. No new bills will be passed. So everything is just kind of shut down. It doesn't mean that they're not working. It doesn't mean we don't have a government. It just means that there's no progress on anything that would require votes. So all those people that were so happy last fall, I guess it was, when Justin Trudeau was saying, you know what we're going to do for the people? We're going to give them a GST vacation. And, early next year, we're going to send out $250 checks to everyone who was working last year. So people with disabilities, again, just no bother with you. So now those people that were thinking, wow, I'm going to get 250, you're not getting it. Now you know what it feels like when people living with disabilities hear these things. That check's not coming anymore. Because it didn't get voted on beforehand. So the GST holiday is still happening because it already started and was voted on. But since the GST rebate check, 250, wasn't voted on, it's not happening. So that sucks for the people who would have gotten that money. So it is, and it's not the first time this has happened. It's not the first time our parliament has been prorogued. It wouldn't surprise me if they elect a woman just because. That's what happened before with the Conservatives when Brian Mulroney stepped down, and they got Kim Campbell in for a few months until they lost horribly. So it's the whole glass cliff thing, Well, the next one isn't going to win, and they're not. So we might as well put a woman up in leadership. And apparently the Liberals are the only major party that hasn't had a woman as a leader before. So it wouldn't surprise me if they pick a woman just because. And it's also the very more performative feminism that they tend to do, as opposed to like, we're voting the most qualified person and that person happens to be a woman. It's like, no, it's more, we will just pick a woman. Which I'm not necessarily keen on that sort of thing. What I would love to see is somebody who's like progressive and can stand out from the crowd and energize people. And it's not, again, no fan of the Liberals, but they're better than the Conservatives. But if all they're going to do is get in someone who could just be Justin Trudeau, like there's no difference, there's no distance between them, then they're not going to win. They're just not going to win. Anyway, let's get to the video of him somberly coming out and just the metaphoric wind blowing of papers. Did you see that?
So I thought it might be fun.
Oh. Let's do that again and watch. Oops, there goes the notes. It really reminds me of that scene in one of the Lords of the Rings movies where I can't remember any of the characters' names, but the one woman is coming out of the castle. Her father, I think, is the king has like a little brain worm put into his head or something like that. And she's feeling very forlorn and whatnot. And she comes out into like the balcony of the castle, and the wind is very strong and blowing, and it picks up the flag and it shoots the flag away and stuff like that. So apparently that was just it wasn't planned, but it worked. That was just something that happened, and it fit the scene perfectly. And that's kind of how I feel this was, just this happenstance of the wind. Just it's very metaphoric wind that we have in some things. Just picking up his notes and being like, nope, nothing's going your way. And some people are like, well, he's done the country well and all this sort of stuff, and he's still human, and you gotta respect him for all that and whatnot. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't. Also, he did not want to do this. He wanted to stay prime minister. I can guarantee you that. He was forced out. Like there are things happening behind the scenes that we don't see, but let's just say the pressure was pretty immense. All the flowery words that he's going to give of like looking at the polls and all this sort of stuff, it's all bullshit. He was forced out because his ego is way too big for him to think of himself as not being the winner.
So I thought it might be fun for us to do this again. Bon matin. Every morning I've woken up as Prime Minister. I've been inspired by the resilience, the generosity, and the determination of Canadians. It is the driving force of every single day I have the privilege of serving in this office. That is why, since 2015, I've fought for this country.
Since 2015. I remember what he said back in 2015. Oh, served in the office. So when he first got elected, I think, what was it, like 2019? Gosh, it's so hard to tell time with politics, but you remember that phrase when he's like, we're going to have a gender balanced cabinet. People are like, why are you doing that? Because it's 2019. Again, very performative. But like the way women were treated once they were in those roles, the amount of participation they were allowed to have and all that sort of stuff wasn't exactly what you would hope for. It is, again, the Liberals are very performative when it comes to anything that seems progressive.
For you, to strengthen and grow the middle class. Why we rallied to support each other through the pandemic, to advance reconciliation, to defend free trade on this continent, to stand strong with Ukraine and our democracy, and to fight climate change and get our economy ready for the future.
You mentioned Ukraine and democracy and stuff. I think he's missing something there. Something very important that's happening right now. He didn't mention something, I don't know, something about a genocide happening in Gaza.
We are at a critical moment in the world. Mes chers Canadiens, à chaque matin,
every morning, I've woken up as Prime Minister, and I've been inspired by the resiliency and the generosity and the determination that characterizes Canadians. This is what has driven me on a daily basis, and it's been a privilege to be Prime Minister. This is why, since 2015, I've fought for this country, for you, Canadians, to strengthen the middle class. That's why Canadians mobilized to support each other during the pandemic, to move reconciliation forward, to defend free trade on our continent, and to support Ukraine and democracy, and to fight against climate change as well, and to prepare the economy for the future. We're really going through a critical time in world history.
My friends, as you all know, I'm a fighter. Every bone in my body has always told me to...
Oh, man, I should have had the picture of him in his boxing outfit ready. There was an old, I guess it was a charity event or something, where he was doing a boxing match with somebody. It wasn't like a real thing or anything.
Fight because I care deeply about Canadians. I care deeply about this country, and I will always be motivated by what is in the best interest of Canadians. And the fact is, despite best
See, this is why I don't do a lot of like live react videos and stuff because I can't shut up. I want to counter like everything he's saying. He wants to do what's in the best interest of Canadians. Then why during the pandemic, like during the height of the pandemic, did he and the Liberals vote against universal pharmacare? Why did they vote against taxing corporations that were profiting, like making extra profit during the pandemic, and the ultra wealthy? If he was really interested in doing what's best for Canadians, then why wasn't he doing that? It's never been about what's best for Canadians when it comes to the Liberals.
Efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor-General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th. Over the holidays, I've also had a chance.
So what that means is on March 25th, as soon as they get back into the chambers, the Conservatives and the NDP will race to do a vote of no confidence. And at that point is when Parliament will dissolve yet again and a new election will be called. And we'll get more into that in a little bit.
Chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
You see, again, this is where I get a little bit more cynical than a lot of the people who've been watching this, because you look at the emotion in his face. You can see his eyes, like they're watering, like it's real. Like this is, it's really gutting him to have to do this. And I'm sure on some level it is. But I also remember him kneeling at the site of an unmarked grave of an Indigenous child, placing a teddy bear down, tear rolling down his cheek. And then later, fighting them in court about compensation. Indigenous peoples who have taken the government to court for a fight for reparations, money for health care, that sort of thing. And the courts actually judged in favor of Indigenous peoples because, yeah. And then this guy here appealed it. He has spent more money fighting Indigenous peoples in court than the previous Conservative government. So I don't buy those tears. If there are any authentic tears coming out of these eyeballs, it's not for the people. It's for his wounded ego.
Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. Mes chers amis, comme vous savez, je suis un fighter. Dans mon fort intérieur, je me suis toujours battu.
I've always been a fighter. I've always been a fighter because I really care for Canada and Canadians.
So he
and
just
I've
repeats the
always
same
been
thing in
driven by
French.
what's in the long conversations with my family. The party will have chosen. It's for me that if I'm focused on it, to strengthen the economy after the pandemic and to
its values and ideals into that next election.
Back that up a bit.
do for Canadians.
The Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution in the history of our great country and democracy. A new Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party will carry its values and ideals into that next election. I'm excited to see the process unfold in the months ahead. We were elected for the third time in 2021 to strengthen the economy post-pandemic and advance Canada's interests in a complicated world. And that is exactly the job that I and we will continue to do for Canadians. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now go to questions.
Okay. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. Thank you very much, my friends. You see, I know a little bit of French. I know a little bit of a little bit. So I think we'll leave it there. That was his speech. You know, very heartfelt, very, oh no, he's stepping down, poor thing. It is in the best interest of the people, though, that there is that. Because the Liberal Party stands no chance. They just stand a little less of a no chance with somebody else in power. But the parallels I'm seeing to the United States, because, you know, it took a lot of pressure to get Joe Biden to finally step down. And, you know, it probably took a lot behind the scenes pressure that we're not seeing, which I suspect there was a lot behind the scenes pressure for Justin Trudeau to step down. And then he finally steps down just for there to be almost no time before the election for them to like find a new leader and all that sort of stuff. You know, same things happening here. Now, you also remember a lot of talk in the States, especially from certain networks, about part of the reason why Kamala Harris lost was because they were just being too progressive. You know, they were just being too leftist. They were being too bold, even though that wasn't the case at all. No, not the case. From Global News, almost all the MPs Global News spoke to believe Trudeau has moved the party too far to the left, and that shift has played a key role in the decline of the Liberals. They've moved more right since they've gotten into power. All the parties have recently. What exactly was too far left? I suspect it could be something along the lines of, you know, saying that they would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu because of the ICC actual warrant, you know, that they would, Justin Trudeau said that they would follow the law. That might be too left for the party. The fact that some dental care, not universal dental care, but some dental care got through the works. You know, that was a slip up on his part. You know, that should have never happened under the Liberals. And then there was the universal pharmacare, which was 2 drugs for diabetes and birth control. Yeah, those also got slipped in there. So those medications won't be costing people anymore. And the Liberals, you know, that is so far left doing that sort of thing. Like, how dare they? And then all the performative things that they like to do, you know, when it comes to accepting other groups of people. That's, you shouldn't even pretend. You shouldn't even be performative when it comes to that sort of thing. Mark Carney makes his leadership pitch to a skeptical Liberal caucus. I believe he's the one that Trudeau was kind of warming up to begin with. The thing is that there's no difference. Like, they would have to distance themselves so much from Justin Trudeau. So you have Chrystia Freeland, who's already done it. And just talking about the parallels between Canada and the United States again, there's this clip here. And Max Fawcett saying, the Liberals are going to do this, aren't they? And I listened to this clip and I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen. And so this is from Ken Klippenstein saying, Chuck Schumer blames Democrat losses on average working families who didn't realize how much we had done and how much we care for them. So we'll listen to the clip and I'll tell you why this is so true.
So we did a lot of good things, but all too often, Kristen, we talked about the mechanics of the legislation and the details of the legislation, and we really didn't show the kind of empathy and concern to average, or show enough of it to average working families who didn't realize how much we had done and how much we care for them. So what we're going to do is spend a lot of time talking to working families, showing them how much we care about them. So we did a lot of good things, but...
Yeah, so the Liberals have forced workers back to work several times when they went on strike. So that's not helping the working families there. But also, the person who's going to be saying this is Chrystia Freeland. So after the Liberals lose, it's going to be like, yeah, we just didn't realize how much the average working family didn't realize how good we were to them. And you can already hear it because the way that they already condescend towards us when it comes to inflation is all in your head, sweetie. You know, inflation is actually really good right now. I don't know what you're complaining about. The economy it's so good right now. Our economy has totally bounced back. I don't know what all you people are worried about, like why you're complaining. That's things that I've already covered on my channel that they've already been saying. And as I try to point out, inflation affects different classes of people differently. And the people who are at the bottom, inflation is actually worse. A lot worse for the people who are at the bottom than they are at the top. The economy has benefited the top percentages of people. It hasn't benefited everyone. It's not a equal across the board, everyone benefits from a good economy. It's from the people who are already doing pretty good. And so we already have them condescending towards us about that sort of thing. And so do I doubt that they would then say, you know, it was the average working families who didn't realize how much we had done for them and how much we care for them, and that's why we lost? Oh, that is so going to happen. Like, just put a stamp on this, a bookmark, whatever you want to do, you do that, because that is absolutely going to happen. Like, without a doubt, that's going to happen. So this is from Cristo Avalos. He is very smart, left YouTuber, democratic socialist, historian. He does lots of articles for different magazines and stuff. I don't know if he has like a PhD, but he definitely has like a degree or something from university when it comes to like Canadian politics and stuff of that sort. So expert on Pierre Trudeau, unions, CCF, NDP. And so he just tweeted this out. I actually want to see if I can get him on my show. We are Twitter peeps, so it's entirely possible, and I would love to get him on to talk. So this is Christo saying, this is very bad news for the Liberal Party. Most of the people included are big political names and established records. The winner is none of these losers is devastating for the Liberals. And so what is he pointing to? There is a poll done. And so most appealing Liberal leadership candidate. None of the above has the highest percentage. So we have like Mark Carney. Oh, Justin Trudeau is even, people would re-elect him. But Chrystia Freeland is the current frontrunner. Melanie Joly, Christy Clark. Like, again, these are well-known names within the Liberal establishment. And yet, none of the above is the winner. And again, I think part of this is when you have somebody like Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, Melanie Joly, they're very popular within the Liberal establishment. But the instant you step outside of that, they're not very liked. They're not very well liked at all. Chrystia Freeland in particular, outside of the Liberal establishment, she is really not liked, partly because of her Nazi grandfather. And the fact that she never denounced him and some weird ties and stuff. And there's whole articles about that sort of thing. Like, no, you don't judge somebody based on what their ancestors did and all that sort of stuff. But I think in her case, you know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree type thing. So she is not very well liked. You know, anyone who's been a minister over the past government doesn't stand a chance because people are not happy with what has been happening in this country. So anyone who's been vocally, actively involved with where we are right now will not be popular to the general public. And so just the fact that none of the above is the current champion to win is pretty sad. And this is why I say Justin Trudeau stepping down has changed nothing. Pierre Poilievre was going to win before. He's going to win now. Because none of the people the Liberals will actually put up stands a chance of actually making the Liberals seem like they're offering something new. And that's what they would have to do. They would have to get in somebody that can convince the public that they're offering a new Liberal Party, that this isn't the same old Liberal Party. We have some of the same values, of course, but it's new. We're going to be something new. And the establishment doesn't like that. They don't like that sort of thing. And so the reality is they're not going to get that person up there. So there's no chance the Liberals are going to win. None. None. Mozart, fine, Canada, I'll be your prime minister, or whatever it is. You know what? I think it should be me. It should be me. It's only going to be for a few months. It should be me. What's the harm? What could I possibly do in the meantime? Well, the thing is nothing. That's the thing. It's nothing. The way politics works up here is, the prime minister doesn't have any unilateral power to do much of anything. They're just a figurehead. So, like, even the threat of Pierre Poilievre using the notwithstanding clause, that's not something he can just sign away. It's not an executive order. The party still has to vote on it. So it still has to be voted on. But if he has a majority, of course, it will then go through. So the prime minister has no power to unilaterally do anything. So whoever is next, like, they won't change anything. Whoever is the next prime minister for the few months, they won't do anything. They won't change anything. And they're just going to be focused on the election anyway. So it's a matter of trying to convince the population that something new will come about with this party. And that's not the type of people the inner establishment of the Liberal Party wants. So, because they're all stuck in their own little bubble. They're very bubblied. They're bubbled. They are a liberal bubble. So none of these people. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Christia Gould, I think her name is. I think she was like one of the speakers for the Liberal Party. I actually got a good vibe from her, but her name hasn't been proposed yet.